86 tornadoes from Kansas to Tennessee. Twisters tore up the 4 states 5 years ago today, but memories are as fresh as if it was yesterday. Good evening. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Lisa Oligas. Topping our first 7 minutes, the anniversary of the 4-state fury. Dozens of tornadoes claimed lives, homes, and businesses, but not the resolve of 4-state residents. Meteorologist Jeff Cornish joins us now with the path the Twisters took on that fateful day.
Yeah, Lisa, I didn't live here when this happened 5 years ago, but shortly after I moved here, I learned very quickly that many lives were changed in Carl Junction, in Franklin, in the Columbus area, all across the area here with this outbreak. And if we look at the map, we can see where these tornadoes tracked across the 4-state area. And these were just some of the 86 tornadoes that moved from places like even the Kansas City area in northeastern Kansas, and even Tennessee and Kentucky saw tornadoes on this day. And this single day was part of really a week-long active period of tornadoes across the central and eastern U.S. 38 were killed just on May 4th. Nearly 300 were injured. And fortunately, a relatively small number of those were in the 4-state area compared to what it could have been. Just many tornadoes. You can see where they tracked right through Franklin, right through the northwestern part of Carl Junction, and also through Pierce City. Just a menacing night across the 4 states. Now around here, we're going to have a much quieter day tomorrow, which is going to be nice. We do have some thunderstorms in the forecast and the possibility of some severe weather. So we're tracking the next system moving in. This is a very active time of the year. We're going to break down the details in a few minutes, Lisa.
Spring is severe weather season, especially for us.
It is.
All right, thanks, Jeff. "We will never forget" is uttered in reference to war, but it's true of 4-state storm survivors. Today, folks from across the region gathered in Franklin, Kansas to remember the historic string of tornadoes. KOAM's Jordan Aubie was at the Severe Weather Symposium and shares the memories of one tornado survivor.
5 years ago, this was an entire neighborhood. You can still see the trees and foundations from that time. But that all changed with a half-mile-wide F4 tornado.
I've seen 4 tornadoes in my career in law enforcement, but this particular one, I never really saw the funnel part of the tornado. It was just massive and huge and totally frightening, but the devastation that followed its path was pretty obvious what was going to happen.
This was an unprecedented event, May 4th. Maybe not because of the frequency of tornadoes, but just the overall power and destruction of those tornadoes on May 4th, 2003, and the way it hit populated communities.
On May 4th, Ruth Zimlock received an urgent call from a relative telling her to seek shelter from a tornado in the area. She and her husband, Tony, hurried into their basement just before the twister plowed right through their home.
Tony came in and he said, the big barn's gone, the roof's gone. I said, "Oh no, Tony, don't tell me that." So a man came to the door, Paul Romanzi, came to the door, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I said, yeah.
Meteorologist Doug Kramer with the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning over NOAA weather radio. There were no warning sirens in Franklin.
We actually got 56 minutes of lead time, meaning that the warning was issued 56 minutes prior to when it got into Franklin. And we feel as though that saved a lot of lives because a lot of people, they got the warning.
5 years to the day of this destruction, Ruth and Tony now live in a new, bigger home built on the previous home's foundation. For Ruth and Tony, Franklin is home no matter what.
It was an act of God, and I'm better in lots of ways because my home is where I can stay in and be accessible.
Many others choose to stay in Franklin, but they say it comes with greater respect for Mother Nature. In Franklin, Kansas, Jordan Aubie, KOAM News.
The National Weather Service says Franklin is a hotspot for tornadoes. The small town is still rebuilding. With about a dozen tornadoes tearing a path through the 4 states alone, several tornadoes tumbled into Missouri. In Carl Junction, dozens of homes and city buildings were blown apart. The 4th and 5th grade school building and police department were hit hard, making finishing the school year impossible. Fire Chief Bill Dunn says although damage in the city was extensive, some good did come of the tragedy. Carl Junction was forced to get a facelift.
Nearly every one of them got repaired or rebuilt. So, I mean, actually, it's better than it was before.
Dunn says it's hard to forget a day like May 4th, 2003. New schools, police station, and even siding on most of the houses that sit on the tornado's path are a constant reminder. Even 5 years later, Pierce City, Missouri is still recovering. In February of this year, the National Guard Armory reopened as the Clark Community Mental Health Center. It took $3 million in renovations to bring it back to life after the tornado tore it apart. The Armory was where many sought shelter. 2 people died in the storm, 1 very near the Army. Every tax-generating business in the city's downtown was damaged or destroyed. Many who lost homes or businesses say they are thankful to be alive, but others were lost in the tornadoes. We take this time to remember those who did not survive the twisters. 25 people were killed in Kansas and Missouri. 17 of those deaths occurred in our 4-state viewing area. In Lawrence County, toddler Jacob Ruda from Monette, Vicki Lawrence of Marionville, Dale Taunton of Pierce City, Janet Eskridge and Wanda Hanley of Monette. In Missouri, a Carl Junction couple, Kenneth and Ethel Lanier, 88-year-old Rex Smith of Liberal. In Cedar County, John Castle, Ron Hewitt, and Mark Wilcox. In Cherokee County, Kansas, 50-year-old Julie Green and Phyllis and Charles Ross. In Crawford County, Kansas, Sharon Lashbrook, George Bolt, and Josephine Mack.